Hello, 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 and welcome to another SCOUTCAST, brought to you as always by Andy, FPL Mode, and we are also joined by Rich. How is it going, Rich?
Yeah, good, really good. We're bang on time as well, so good job on that. I guess that's Seb not being here.
I was just about to say, yeah, why are we on time this week and not usually?
Yeah, I could have been more subtle about that. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure why.
We're gutted though. We don't have Seb this week. He's not very well, bless him. He tried to be here, but he couldn't be here in the end. But obviously, we're only joking. You know, we're usually on time when he's here as well. But obviously, it's the international break now, which is a bit weird. We're not talking about how our teams got on this week. We're not talking about how our teams are looking for next week. We're going to be doing something a little bit different tonight, aren't we, Rich?
Yeah, we're going to be talking about England against Ukraine.
Yeah, exactly. No, we are not. No.
No, do not switch off. Do not
No.
switch off. Well, the main thing we're going to be doing, I guess, is building that wildcard team.
Exactly.
Looking at the XGI from players across, the first 4 game weeks as well.
Yeah.
Q&A at the end.
Yeah, you got it, mate. You could do this. Yeah, do it like as Richard just said. We're going to look at the XGI for all players so far and see who's contributing the most for their teams, regardless of whether they're getting the actual returns. We're going to be looking at fixtures for the next 4 or 5 weeks and see who's got some nice fixtures, and then we're also going to be building a wildcard team. So this is to bring up discussion. Obviously, there are lots of people on wildcard as well because it's an international break. Some people had this pegged, and we're also going to be looking at it just to actually help people decide what kind of transfers they should be making now, because it's quite interesting, I think. So without further ado, let's go on to the XGI table so far this season. And it's quite an interesting one because there are some players here that I think people would expect to have been up there and some players that wouldn't have been. We've got Mbumo top. Mbumo's top of XGI across all players, even top above Haaland now. Bruno's next, then Saka, Maddison, Jackson is up there. Salah, Bowen, Enzo Fernandez, and then Matoma. Now remember as well, this is also penalties too. So if players are taking penalties and they're maybe missing whatever it is, this does take that into account. Hence why maybe Enzo Fernandez is there with his penalties taken so far. Looking at this list, Rich, anything surprise you here? And is there anything here that you're thinking, yeah, it looks good, but I probably won't have him in on a wild card?
The only shock on this list, as in if we'd looked at this list 4 weeks ago, I mean, that would have been nice to be able to do that. But Enzo's the only real surprise on that
Yeah.
list. As in, I feel like every other player is a player I've seen people pick them. I mean, maybe a bit less or fewer people have had Bowen, for example.
Yeah.
The rest of them have all been talked about and quite heavily owned. I mean, even Salah, when we were going into game week 2, there was quite a big divide there.
Yeah, big time. And like you just said, like Enzo's quite a surprising one, but he did get a little bit of a bandwagon at one point. And Bumo, though, what a pick. For people that went for him at the beginning, obviously he's had his penalties. There's still a lot of people out there that are saying he's getting lucky with his returns, like seems to be scoring in garbage time and all that kind of stuff. I mean, he's just loving life though, isn't he? Like, you know, in that goal he scored at the weekend, lovely little turn, through on goal, nice little finish. Regardless of fixtures, should we be owning him, do you think?
I mean, I think almost certainly,
Yeah.
and that I mean that goal this week was the best of the lot. I can understand some skepticism because I mean it was 2 penalties, and it really was a tap in injury time. The one he got, I think it was against Fulham. I think it was against Fulham in game week 2 where he got
Yeah.
the tap in and got the 15 pointer. But yeah, I mean I would 100% have him. I mean I think those of us who went for him game week 1 got lucky because he was flagged
Mm.
until so late, so his ownership was lower. But I guess likewise, that's not hurt people as much who didn't start with him. And obviously, you have Matoma, for example. He's done very well as
Yeah.
well. So yeah, I think he's a bit of a no-brainer. I
Yeah.
really, really do. I mean, his ownership's still very, very low as well.
It is. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's high amongst if you're in like an FPL chat or something like that, I think it's high amongst players that talk about it a lot. But in terms of if you look down your maybe home mini leagues and things like that, there's not actually that many people that own Mbumo. And I think a lot of people have been bringing in players like Madison, Sterling. They're probably bringing in players like Son this week, and maybe Mbumo's kind of being left every week, isn't he?
Yeah, and I mean, even let's take away the 2 penalties, for example. That would put him on about 3.5 XGI because we're
Yeah,
talking 0.97
and
per
that's
penalty.
still
He's had 2 of them.
he'd still
Still
be
better than
fourth.
Madison.
He'd still be fourth in this table.
Yeah, and then he'd be fourth, but then Saka's had a penalty, Bruno's had a penalty, Haaland's had a penalty.
True.
So yeah, he's regardless of penalties, he's up there. But the fact he's on penalties as well,
Yeah.
I really do think it's a no-brainer. And obviously, there was a lot of talk last week about Sterling's, Madison's, etc. I'd want to get Mbeumo because I don't see when people are even going to consider selling him. Those that have him.
Yeah, no, I agree. Someone that isn't on penalties that has had a mixed start to the season is Jackson. He's getting all the XGI. Like he's very involved. He's getting a lot of chances. I mean, the tap in that he missed at the weekend that went over the bar was disastrous for owners, especially if you own Sterling as well, because he would have got the assist. But he's putting up the numbers every week, and the fixtures, which we'll go on to next as well, are gorgeous for another 4 or 5 weeks. So if you've got him, a lot of people are starting to think, do I make that move from Jackson to Alvarez? Alvarez isn't even on this table. So what's your kind of impression of Jackson so far?
So as a non-owner, because I kind of priced myself out, I feel quite fortunate that he's only got that one return. I mean, he's actually got over the first 4 game weeks the same number of points as João Pedro. They both got 10. And in fact, Archer, who only just made a Sheffield United debut,
Don't.
he's on 12 points already. So I do feel very fortunate that I don't have, that I haven't gone for Jackson because I feel very like that he's got very unlucky.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be buying him now, but I definitely wouldn't be selling.
Yeah.
I don't feel like there's enough good strikers to justify it really.
And that's it. I'm looking at a lot of the other strikers, even Alvarez, like we've just said, he isn't on here. And we're going to probably talk about Alvarez a little bit more next week. But I'm sometimes watching Alvarez and feeling like he's getting a little bit lucky with a lot of his returns. Whereas Jackson, I'm looking at and thinking he's just getting all of the chances. And at some point, it's going to go well. But is he just going to turn into another Werner and we're just going to be saying this all year?
I mean, that's the thing. I guess we just don't know, but I don't really feel like you're missing out on someone else if you don't have Jackson. There's a few interesting things about Alvarez, though. There was, first of all, I mean, I mentioned this with Praz on Thursday, but Korf tweeted out a list of all the set piece takers, who's taken how many. Alvarez had actually taken most of Man City's set pieces.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Praz pointed out earlier on Twitter that the second highest minutes for a striker is actually Alvarez. Only Solanke has played more minutes for forwards in FPL this season. He's only missed, I think it was 7 minutes. So he has been nailed. Yeah. He is on all these set pieces. Ooh. He's an interesting one, but I mean, I'm personally not that tempted.
No, especially if I was moving Jackson to Alvarez. I don't like that move at all, if I'm honest.
No, definitely not. If you've got Jackson, you still probably got. I mean, he's not the second best striker in the game, but for his price, bang for buck after Haaland, there's no issue there. And especially when Watkins hasn't been getting the minutes, Watkins has lost his penalties, and Watkins costs more money.
Yeah,
so I don't feel anyone sat there with a second striker feeling that smug. I mean, maybe, yeah, just oh god, Archer.
Exactly.
The only people who could have played Archer this week were João Pedro owners.
Yeah, exactly. And some of them didn't, did they?
No, they didn't. Well, because that's thanks to Danny Welbeck.
Yeah,
but we're not talking about our teams this week, are we?
So, we are not. And last one, before we move on to the fixtures, Bowen's on this list. Bowen is one of the highest scoring players this year. He is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th on this list in terms of highest XGI he's put up so far this year. Had a tricky start, but he's still done well. And obviously they don't need possession, apparently, West Ham, to beat teams.
No.
Should he be being considered by a lot more teams now? Are we going to consider him in our wildcard?
If we're wildcarding this week, definitely not. I mean, they've got City, then Liverpool. Then, yes, they've got Sheffield United, but then they've got Newcastle. So 3 of the next 4 are City, Liverpool, and Newcastle.
Yeah.
So for that reason, I think it's unanimous no.
Yeah. It's so tough though. He's done well, hasn't he? Like it just seems like that player that everybody's going, no, it's fine. No, I'm gonna leave him, and he just seems to be returning. He's got 3 goals and 1 assist in 4 games.
Also, I mean, obviously the last 2 Friday night games we had Chelsea Luton and we had West Ham Luton.
Yeah.
And while West Ham deserved to win, they go about it in quite a boring way.
Even against easy opposition, that's the problem.
Yeah, that I think that is my issue with someone like Bowen. So I just don't see West Ham absolutely destroying teams. I know they beat Brighton, yeah. But that feels like a bit of a weird outlier.
It does. It's an interesting one with West Ham, but like I said, the proof will be in it if we don't even think about him in our wildcard team in a minute. Right, we're looking at the fixtures now. So these are the next 5 game weeks. I've done 5 because I wanted it to be... Most people are thinking about maybe wildcarding again in game week 8 or 9. Obviously, I know we're thinking about wildcarding here, but it's helping you with making your moves for your team. Luton are top. for the next 5 game weeks in terms of difficulty of their fixtures. Then we've got Newcastle, then Fulham, then Manchester United. 4 interesting teams there, especially Man United, who have had a tricky start to the season, I would say. Then Aston Villa, then Chelsea. I love the fact Newcastle and Aston Villa are up here, because I think they are 2 teams that have not been invested in at all, really, to start the season, apart from maybe a Watkins. So getting some of those players in seems quite fun for a bit of a change in schedule. Liverpool are there as well. Obviously, Salah might or might not be there after the international break. We will see. Then Nottingham Forest, Spurs, Bournemouth, Man City, Brentford, Sheffield United, Everton. Now we're getting really low down now. Wolves, Arsenal are there as well in terms of difficulty. I think because they've got quite a few away games and then a Man City fixture in there as well. Burnley, Crystal Palace, West Ham and Brighton at the bottom there. First off, Rich, thinking about this team we're going to be building for this wild card, Luton, Newcastle, Fulham, Man United, Aston Villa. Any teams there that you're thinking, yeah, I'm going to be looking to get a few of these players in?
I mean, Newcastle defenders, I think almost certainly as at least 2. I think we'll probably end up with 2, but I think there is definitely an argument for going for 3 Newcastle defenders.
They've struggled so far.
They have, but I mean, Brighton didn't put up huge XG against them, for example. I mean, that Ferguson hat-trick was, I think it was about 1 on XG. It might have been a little bit more. Obviously, Pope made quite a big mistake, and I'm not taking it away from Ferguson. Obviously, he was incredible in that game, but yeah, it doesn't really put me off. I mean, all defenses have struggled. The only clean sheets this week were Liverpool and Forest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Man United are also up here. You know, they've got Brighton, but then Burnley, Crystal Palace, Brentford, Sheffield United. A lot of people have Rashford. A lot of people have Bruno. A lot of people are thinking of moving them on for someone like Son, Maddison. Could be that you keep hold of them.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's interesting is if we talked about a wild card last week, I'd have been set on still having Bruno and Rashford. And to be honest, I think I still am.
Yeah.
Because of game week 8, because you're going to need to find a captain for game week 8, because obviously Arsenal are playing City.
Yeah.
So I think that takes away from the appeal. I mean, maybe a lot of people will still captain Haaland, but I'd still want like the second best captain or third best captain, from another.
Spurs have got Luton away.
I think that's exactly what's changed, because I wouldn't have captained Maddison.
Yeah.
Personally, I wouldn't have captained Maddison in that game. Now, if Son keeps playing where he is, if Son is definitely on penalties, which Spurs fans seem a bit more confident about, and it does. I mean, it seems quite logical when you think about it.
Yeah.
So let's assume he is on penalties. Then, I mean, you've got that captaincy in game week 8. So then, does that then mean you don't need Man United players as much? I mean, we're not going to touch the Man United defenders. Onana, I mean, I know his passing's good.
The fact Pickford's done all right against him says a lot, really.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah.
We won't have Pickford either. So maybe the goalkeeper chat would be interesting.
Yeah,
as always.
Interesting that Brighton are literally right down the bottom here. So they've got Man United away, Bournemouth at home, which is fine, then Villa away, Liverpool at home, Man City away. Doesn't get much worse than that apart from Bournemouth at home. Lots of us still have Estupiñán. There are people out there with Matoma, João Pedro. I mean, people might even be thinking about bringing Ferguson in. I don't see us picking any Brighton on this wild card.
No, and that's something quite interesting, actually, because I have Estupiñán and Pedro in my actual team, just to talk about that a second. And I've got no intention of selling
You're
them.
allowed to talk about your team, mate. It's fine.
But I think, if you've got those players now, like say you've got Estupiñán, which a lot of people do, you could bench him this week. I mean, to be honest, in game week 5, you could even start him, but then you can play him in game week 6. And I think if you brought in the right player for the next few game weeks, Estupiñán could become benchable. I think, like you say, on wildcard, I think it's very different, and I wouldn't have any Brighton at all. So it's something I actually kind of don't like about the game week 5. Or do we cast this as game week 5 wildcard? I guess we do.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's what I don't fully like about the game week 5 wildcard. Yeah. Is I think you'd have to come off Brighton that little bit earlier than I'd want to.
Yeah.
Because I think it makes sense to get rid of them on the wild card, but then in game week 6, actually might not be that well set.
Yeah, no, I do agree. And Spurs, obviously, a lot of people are bringing them in. They've got a lovely fixture, Sheffield United at home. And then the fixtures are kind of middling, but it'll get better from game week 8 onwards. Son, Maddison, I can't see us picking both. Have you got a preference out of those two?
Son, and it's why I did want to wait. I wanted to see if Son would be be the option. I mean, I get some people are going to want to go for both, but personally, I really wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Right, should we give it a go then? Should we have a go at making it?
Let's do it. Where do we start?
Yes.
Should we start with midfielders?
No, we got to start for you, mate, with goalkeepers, haven't we? Because I have no idea who I'm going to pick for goalkeeper. It's like literally no idea. So if we start with goalkeepers, because we can stick a 4 million player in probably straight away, can't we?
Yeah, and then I guess it's a case of which 4 million. I
Yeah.
mean, I guess Areola
Yeah,
potentially. There seems to be rumblings around Turner. Like, is he actually still going to be number one?
yeah.
Everything
I like
logically in
Areola.
my head says he will be, but Areola does feel like a little bit safer.
I
Although
think
he's
Areola
4.1
works.
actually, isn't he?
He is 4.1, but I think that's okay. I think 4.1's okay. And then who's going to be your starting keeper? Because I'm not going to lie, keepers have just been awful this year, haven't they? Like, they've not been good. So who do we go for keepers, do you think?
See, I was thinking I'd be quite tempted with Edison.
Would you?
Yeah, I
Uh,
really would be quite tempted with Edison. I don't think it's going to be popular in the chat. I think the popular one's going to be Flecken.
yeah, I think Flecken will be up there. I think Vicario's starting to get a few more kind of suitors now because I think Spurs have done a lot better defensively than we expected them to.
I think the thing with Vicario is obviously we've talked about Son Madison already. I mean, let's rule Richarlison out for now, but I mean it's not a dead deal either.
Yeah,
There's also two interesting defenders. We've obviously got Udogi, who's been very popular.
yeah, that's true.
And then looking at Porro's stats, I looked at the stats for the last game against Burnley, and they were incredible as well. And they're both cheaper than Vicario. So I think I think I'd be tempted with Edison.
I'll tell you what, I'll put Edison in.
I don't think
And
the
then
chat's going to like this.
the only thing I
Not
can
saying
imagine,
Leno.
the only thing I can imagine is that having Edison would stop us maybe getting a Foden, Alvarez, Haaland triple up if maybe we wanted it at any point.
Yeah,
That's the
or
only
we could go
thing.
Pickford.
Let's go Edison. Okay, so we've got our keepers, Areola and Edison. That's not too bad. The chat will not like this. So let's go have a look at defenders then. So I've clicked on defenders. Defenders coming up. Romero's top scoring so far. Anderson, Udogi, like you said. Do we put Udogi straight in?
A doggy against Porro, I think that's interesting. Again, I think the safe pick's going to be a doggy because he doesn't have any competition,
Yeah.
or he has Ben Davis as competition. Sorry, Ben.
Yeah.
Porro seems a lot more exciting.
He
And
does.
there's only what 0.2 in it. What's a doggy now? 4.7.
Yeah. And what's Porro? 4.9.
I think he's 4.9. I'm pretty sure he's 4.9.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to put a doggy in just to start with.
Let's put him
Just
in as
to
our
see what
Spurs
happens.
one.
Exactly. Because I think we're quite happy with having a Spurs defender in there. People in the chat, Edison, no.
I didn't think that would. And also the Pickford thing was a joke. Although I still don't think he's like a horrific. I think he's not as bad as people are making out.
There. Okay, that's fine. So we
He
got.
outscored Onana, and that's including with an own goal.
I don't hate the idea of having a Crystal Palace defender in there.
Well, the one I definitely want is Trippier. I think he has
Okay.
to go in.
All
I
right.
know there's been some talk about, is he going to be rotated during Champions League's game?
Takes a long time to get to him, mate.
There is a search feature, or you could go to Newcastle.
I'm gonna have to use the search feature, to be honest. There he is.
This is
Right.
the first insight I've ever had into you doing your track. Oh, imagine you clicked like play wildcard now.
Oh god.
This is your actual team, isn't it?
It is my actual team. Yeah, I've got to be really careful. So we've got Udogi and Trippier at the moment. Trippier, I'm assuming, is there because the fixtures are lovely for a bit. Are you not a little bit worried with Trippier because of Champions League coming up? He's getting a bit older. They got Livramento there.
I mean, he's not that old. He's only a few months older than he was at the end of last season. I'm really, really not worried. They've not even done that well in the league, which I think is actually a good thing.
Yeah, true.
Like they had 10 men against Liverpool. Sorry, they're playing against 10 men Liverpool and lost the game.
Yeah.
They've then lost, quite heavily against Brighton, thanks to Ferguson. I think their priority has to be, finishing top four again.
Yeah.
And I think early on in that Liverpool game, they were probably thinking this is going to be easy. So no, I think I'd need to see something. I've been burned in the past by assuming things will happen that don't. Like, remember when none of us had Diego Costa because we thought he was going to be booked?
Yeah.
And he didn't get booked. And also just this week, I obviously had Robertson instead of Trent. And I've kind of seen, if you pay less for an asset because I think you've definitely got to have a Newcastle defender. If you pay less, you don't get the best asset. I think that's it at the end of the day. So
no, I think that's fair enough.
And to be honest, I would actually want to have a second Newcastle defender. I know Seb sent us a team earlier.
Who though? Because Botman seems like he's obviously
injured
for a little bit.
I don't think he's had any shots this season, but you look at his numbers last year for defenders, for XG or for shots in the box, whichever, he was right up there with Gabriel.
I mean, before I put another Newcastle defender in there, let's just chat about the other defences we might want to get a bit like invest in, because it's been really, really tricky this year, hasn't it? Because not a lot of teams are keeping clean sheets. We've got players like Chelsea defenders, so I still think we should probably put a Chelsea defender in there. I don't think Gusto is the one because James will be back after the international break by the sounds of things. Disasi's still there because he scored a goal, but do we not just put Chilwell in?
I think we do.
He's basically playing left wing.
Their good fixtures haven't ended yet. I know there's some concerns about him getting, that he's getting subbed off early. The Chelsea fans are unhappy with him, but it's not always a bad thing for FPL. A lot of the best FPL defenders of all time have had fans not very happy with them.
Yeah.
I mean, I was talking to Gianni yesterday about Alonso, for example.
Yeah.
Like, he was loved in FPL, but he wasn't known at Chelsea as, as a legend, solid left back,
Matty Cash is an interesting one. Villa have lovely fixtures. He obviously hauled a couple of weeks ago and then got -2 this week for scoring an own goal and conceding 3. Is Matty Cash definitely going to be playing for the foreseeable future? Because I know Moreno might come back, and then it means that Moreno might be that kind of marauding fullback. So do you think he'd be a good pick?
I mean, that was the worry in pre-season, wasn't it? A lot of Villa fans were saying that Konsa was going to play at right back.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, it'd be an interesting stash if he keeps his place, because I think, I know people looking at wildcard in Game Week 9, for example, they're going to go for Villa players. So it could be a nice stash, but then I guess it depends on does the Mings injury change anything as well?
Yeah.
I'm not sure about that. I don't think I'd go there. I think I'd wait, because actually there is a fixture swing. It's a point with this team. We've got Udogie, Trippier and Chilwell.
Yeah.
The Chelsea fixtures do tail off, as in they drop off a cliff. So I do think there's scope for a defensive transfer in like 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So I guess someone like Cash could wait, couldn't he? We could do Chilwell to Cash in like Game Week 9, for example.
We could.
And then you've freed up $1 million. Now, obviously, we're not booking in transfers, but
have we got our 3 starters then? So are these our 3 defenders, and now we just need to pick some, 4.54 million players?
Well, Udogie's interesting because you're going to play him Game Week 5 against Sheffield United. You're then going to bench him against Arsenal and Liverpool.
Yeah.
I mean, potentially you could play him at home to Liverpool, but I wouldn't fancy that. And then the Spurs fixtures get good. They have Luton and Fulham. So you want a defender in 6 and 7 who's got good fixtures.
Anderson.
And again, that's Newcastle defenders.
Oh, okay.
Newcastle have Sheffield United and Burnley in those weeks. So
go on. I'll put Share in.
You could risk Botman, but I think Share would fill in nicely.
I get it.
Pair it with
all you want to do is get Share. I get it. If you could turn
back
time, right, lovely stuff. I tell you what, we won't pick the 5th defender yet. We're going to go on to midfielders now. Midfielders have been interesting so far this season because they're literally all anybody wants to own, which is right as well. You should have 5 midfielders, I think. And I think in this one, we need to have 5 starting midfielders. Do you agree?
Yes. Yeah. I think there's no real debate in that, to be honest.
Yeah.
The debate is, actually, to be honest, you don't really need a fixed formation. The debate's probably going to be if you play 3 at the back or 4 at the back alongside your 5 mids.
Yeah, exactly. So top of the pile, top of the XGI, top of the points, and Bumo. Don't think we really need to talk too much about him. Should we just put him in?
Yep. Easy.
Easy. Now, I'm going to be really mean here, and I'm going to make us pick only one Spurs midfielder because I feel like we want Spurs, but I'm going to make us pick either Maddison or Son. We cannot have both. So give me your best argument for which one you want, please.
This makes it even easier. We just go for Son.
Oh, why? He's the Sterling of this week. What's going on? Everybody, people have even moved for Son now. like they did last
Okay.
week.
I promise you, obviously I wasn't on Scoutcast last week, but I had a conversation with Praz on Thursday night. And one of the reasons I used for justifying going for Sterling over Madison was I wanted a bit of time to see who I preferred out of Son and Madison.
Right.
Because there was rumours that Richarlison had a little knock. There was talk of, him not even playing. Son plays up front. He scores a hat trick. I'm not expecting him to do that every week. And we think he's on penalties as well. Plus, if you get it wrong, you can always go Son down to Madison. But I don't see it going wrong. I don't see Madison scoring more points over the season than Son because of goals.
I mean, the one thing I will say, and a lot of people are comparing this with Sterling, and I think this is different because it's not like Sterling started playing up front all of a sudden, and it's not like Sterling's ever had that pedigree up front, where Son can do it, and if he's on penalties as well.
I mean, Sterling scored 20 league goals. I'm pretty sure,
but under City, and I don't think he could do that for Chelsea. And I did say that at the time. Genuinely said that at the time. So I'm looking at it. I really love Maddison, and I'm being mean because obviously I'm saying we have to pick one or the other. I think I would edge Maddison here because I love the consistency, and I've got no idea whether Son is going to continue to play up top. Like Richarlison had a knock, didn't he? So Richarlison could easily come back in, and then Son's wide on the left again.
I mean, Son can still be a productive asset for that price, playing out wide. I mean, I remember before he had that incredible goal scoring season, I always remember him as an asset that would tick along with assists. Like he got a lot of assists from corners, etc. Obviously, I know that's not going to happen this year. I just prefer Son, and the fact that he's more makes it easier if you're wrong. Because if you go Maddison, I mean, honestly, this one's tricky because I don't think I'd want to go for both, and you're not letting me.
Yeah,
I'd go Son, but don't let me argue you out of it. I know you love Maddison.
No, it's fine. I've put Son in. It's done. God, you can tell I'm the.
Maddison's stats this season have shocked me. As in, I didn't think he'd be that productive.
Yeah,
but maybe Kane leaving has helped that. I just think that price for Son 9.1 is ridiculous. Maddison's kind of priced where he's always been priced.
No, I've gone Son. Do you know why?
Yeah.
Because I can't take you crying to me on the phone after this if I don't go for Son. So I've gone for Son.
Genuinely, would you ever captain Maddison?
No.
Would you ever captain Son?
Yes. Shut up, Rich.
Nice.
Right. We've already mentioned, and I don't know whether you've changed your mind now, Bowen wouldn't be in this for you?
No, the fixtures are awful.
Yeah, fair enough.
And to be honest, it's probably an argument for not having two Spurs midfielders if you're a wild card him, just because you can get through that Arsenal and Liverpool game.
Well,
6 and 7.
Two players in every team at the moment. Oh, I say every team. Actually, I'm not going to say that. One player that's in every team, Saka. Still putting him in?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, definitely. And actually, you could then sell him. You're probably not actually going to sell Saka, though. I think it was more of a game week 9 wildcard thing. Because obviously in 8, they've got Man City.
Yeah.
But then in 9, they've got Chelsea, and then Sheffield United. So no, Saka's got to be in.
Yeah. And then which United mid?
Can we only have one?
I think so. Not because I'm saying that's a good decision if you're on it, whatever it is, but
yeah,
I think we can only have one. So
see,
Bruno or Rashford.
I'd go Bruno. Again, it's going for the penalties.
I go Rashford.
I'll tell you what, you let me have Son, even though you then agreed he was a better pick. Let's go Rashford then.
So go Rashford. Nice.
It's a Man United asset.
Yeah, I think it's close between them, and the stats for Bruno are really, really good, and the underlying stats are great, and obviously he's on penalties as well. But we just saw Rashford on the left, especially, even when we're playing counter-attack, whatever it is, he's the one getting the goals. I say that, he's only got one so far this season, but I think I would still go Rashford personally.
Yeah. And because of the reasons we said about captaining the Spurs player in 8,
yeah,
maybe there could be an argument. I wouldn't hate it if someone went without either.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally think I couldn't do it, but...
There's the argument for it, definitely. Now, the really tricky position now is this 5th midfielder. So who is going to be our 5th midfielder? Because I've got my eyes on Diaby. I think Diaby could be great coming up soon. I feel like, the fixtures finally turn, and I think it could be great. We could have Foden. Could be in there as well. Fixtures are lovely. We could have Salah, but I don't think we're going to be able to fit Salah in price-wise. We could also have... Who else could we have? Actually, that's probably about it, really. Bowen we've already mentioned, obviously. Who would be your preference for that? Oh, I haven't even mentioned Sterling. Who would be your fifth midfielder preference?
That would be my preference, would be Sterling.
Would it?
Yeah. No, I mean...
No.
They've still got... I mean, I know the best 2 fixtures are gone, but they've still got 3 good fixtures. We assume... I mean, I know Reece James is probably going to be back in the next couple of game weeks. But in the meantime, there's a strong feeling he could be on penalties. I know some people feel like Enzem. It's very murky, that, so let's not rely on that.
Someone's mentioned in the chat, by the way, Eze. Eze is the last person I was
That's a good shout. Yeah. That is a good shout.
I like Eze.
I mean, then you've got all this budget that's hard to use. And then just bringing in someone like Trent. Does that just make sense, even if you don't always start him? I mean, I know he's pulled out the England squad injured and was subbed early, but...
Yeah.
I don't hate the Eze shout.
I don't hate the Eze shout either. Should we put Eze in?
I prefer Sterling, but
no, I'm not letting you have Sterling. Right, there we go. Eze's in. I like that. I like that a lot. Right. So at the moment, then in goal we've got Areola and Edison. Then we've got Udogie, Trippier, Chilwell, Cher, and we don't have our 5th defender yet. We're going to decide that at the end. We've got Saka, Mbumo, Son, Eze, and Rashford in the middle. I tell you what, if we did have Bruno instead of Rashford, that is just 5 penalty takers in the middle there. That's quite nice.
I was just looking at it thinking that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be nice.
That is quite nice.
We're going to have a lot of money left over.
Strikers. I mean...
Do
we have
themselves.
Haaland? Yeah. Yeah, so I think Haaland's got to be in there. And then I'm assuming you are going to say the 4.5 million wonder, right?
The new Asula.
The new Asula. Oh, don't say that. I was so happy that Asula started. So Archer, who is already quite high up on this list, and he's only played 1 game so far. Archer, 4.5 million.
He's one of the top scoring strikers.
I know. Is there any argument to say that Archer should just be starting every week for your team now?
No, I think that's going a bit. That's going a bit far. Yeah.
Instead of Haaland, no.
He was so close to dropping to 4.4 as well.
He was.
But no. I think Archer would be. I think it would put less pressure on you to do a transfer if we get loads of injuries, which has been happening a lot this season.
Yeah. I mean, we've got quite a bit of money left. We got 10. Oh no, actually, I say that we got 10.6 left with 2 players. So we're basically saying we're going to be playing 4-5-1 here, aren't we?
I mean, it depends on who our second striker is.
Well, I tell you what. Should we pick a really cheap defender? If we picked 4.6,
like Botman.
Yeah, should we? Yeah, Botman, stop it. I'm just going to put Anderson in just as a placeholder at the moment. 4.6. We've got 6 million left for a striker. I mean, hang on. Max cost 6 mil. Let's do it like this. 6.1.
I don't know about this.
Ferguson.
I mean, Morris. We looked at
Ferguson's.
We looked at Luton's fixtures, didn't we?
Edward. Oh, Luton. Yeah, I like that. Morris for Luton. You like that, do you?
You could go Morris, then you could go for a better defender, and then you've got 4-5-1.
Oh, so if Morris goes in, with those fixtures, you're going to be wanting to play him every week, aren't you?
I mean, I guess you'd rotate the defender because, like we talked about, Udogie's got 2 pretty bad fixtures coming up.
So you'd want to get rid of Udogie for who?
No, I'd want to keep Udogie, but I just mean you might not play him in a 4-5-1.
Yeah. So
then you'll probably play Morris because in the 2 weeks when, let's have a look, Luton have got Everton and Tottenham. Well, you want to play him for the Everton game. Also, another player that's quite tempting is Awani.
Yeah.
But I'd want to work out the perfect rotation with defenders.
Yeah, how much is he?
I think he's 6.1. I want to say he's 6.1.
6.6?
Yeah. Oh, no, 6.6.
I mean, we could just get him in for Morris. And keep it like that.
Have we not just spent over?
Oh, no. Yeah, we're well over.
Apart from that, don't scroll up. This is the perfect team.
Yeah, this is lovely. Oh, wait, no, we're like 5 mil over. Okay. Well, so I think that's a pretty good team. Should we keep it at that, or do you want to make any upgrades?
I mean, I guess the argument's going to be, if you don't go for Edison, you can probably make some pretty nice upgrades elsewhere. I like the Edison pick, and yeah, but I can see people saying
People don't like it.
get rid of
Go on,
Edison,
let's get rid of Edison. If we get rid of Edison,
okay,
who we
but
get?
we're not getting rid of Trippier.
But who are we getting instead of Edison? Flecken.
Well,
Should we just put
that's the
Flecken in?
problem. Yeah, I like that more than the Leno shout.
Okay, so
You,
Flecken's
you
in
can't slag off Pickford as a pick and then go for Leno and
We got-
expect it to be any different.
there. We got 1.6 in the bank. Anything you want to do?
How much we got in the bank?
1.6 now.
Oh, now we can probably get a one year, and we could probably get someone better than Anderson.
Here we go. Let's put a 1 year in. There he is. A 1 year's in, and we've got 0.5 left, so we could go up to a 5 million defender if you wanted to.
Okay,
Who we want though?
this is tricky. Could you go Porro? This is the problem with not
Yeah,
looking
he's
at
4.9. Oh, that's interesting. That's a bit spicy.
That's very spicy.
So I'll just go through it for everybody.
I mean,
that's
you are
listening.
blocking Madison there.
That's true. We got Areola, Flecken, Udogie, Trippier, Chilwell, Cher, Pedro Porro is our defence. Saka and Bumo, Son, Eze, Rashford in the middle. I love that midfield. That is really nice.
Yeah, and actually another way to get money is if we have Bruno over Rashford, you save another 0.4.
You do. Is it 0.4?
Yeah, he's 8.5, isn't he, your Bruno?
Ooh, hang on then. Let's put Bruno in instead. Love how you've done this to me.
Sorry.
Bruno's in instead.
Then we've got all the penalty takers.
We've got all the pen takers in the middle. 0.6 million spare. And where do you use it? Just keep it.
I mean, can a 1 year go up to?
Oh, I get rid of a 1 year now. We worked so hard to
this
get
is
him
the thing.
in.
There's too many.
Get Alvarez.
We can get the only striker who's played every game, Solanke.
Oh. And then you got 0.5 left. I think that's quite nice. Lots of people are saying they do not like this defence. But then, like, no defence is doing well at the moment. We got no Arsenal defenders in there, which is interesting.
We've got no City defenders.
No City defenders. We got double Newcastle, double Spurs, and Chilwell. So shall I read it out?
It's aggressive.
Should we see whether we're gonna?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So Areola and Flecken. Then we've got Udogie, Trippier, Chilwell, Cher, and Pedro Porro. Oh. Then we got this is a U team. This is. Then we got Saka, Mbumo, Son, Bruno, and Eze in the middle, which is I like that. That's quite nice. And then we got Archer, Haaland, Alvarez up top. That doesn't seem too bad.
Yeah, I mean, some of these picks I don't actually remember picking. I think it's a good debate to look at the different positions, look at the different options.
Yeah, exactly.
And it just shows how much money there is available.
Are there any players here that we haven't put in that you're like, ooh, need to keep those on the watch list just in case?
I mean, Sterling's one, but if he was on my watch list, the fixtures do end like in 3 or 4 weeks. So
true.
If you go without Sterling and you're on wildcard, I don't think you're going to be getting him back for a while, which I mean, some people might be glad about. So
yeah, true.
Yeah, I would definitely have Sterling. I mean, I wouldn't wildcard this week either, just to throw that out there. But people are, so
yeah, we got to help everybody.
Yeah, and there have been a lot of injuries, like especially obviously defenders.
Yeah, you do realise we're going to get absolutely hounded for this wildcard, don't you? People are going to not be happy in the comments.
I mean, I'm not happy that Edison's not there, but
yeah, well, it could be. Right, so one last time for the people listening. So we got Areola in goal with Flecken. We got Udogie, Trippier, Chilwell, Cher, and Pedro Porro. Then Saka and Bumo, Son, Bruno, and Eze in the middle, the pen-taking midfield. And then Archer, Haaland, and Julian Alvarez up top. Lovely.
There's a lot of people wanting Liverpool assets in there. But then there was also a lot of people mocking my Robertson pick, saying Liverpool are bad. So
I was one of them.
Did Liverpool win this week?
Yes, they did.
To be honest, there's a couple of shouts at Darwin, which I like, but I think again it's too early to be going there. I think you'd almost want a couple more weeks of feeling confident that he's actually going to be starting. Yeah, we're never going to expect 90 minutes from that guy, but yeah, and it's another reason I wouldn't mind waiting, because then obviously once you wildcard in Gameweek 9, Liverpool have actually good fixtures. Yeah. So yeah, he's probably one on the watch list for sure.
Lovely stuff. Right, shall we do a little bit of a Q&A to finish off then? So that is our team. Let us know in the chat if you like the team. I'm sure there'll be someone. Right, chuck us some questions then. I know we're, like I said, we're quite shorter tonight. That's because we're the international break, just giving you something fun to listen to. Hopefully you've enjoyed it so far. By the way, obviously we use the FPL site to build our team, but the XGI stats and the fixtures all came from the members area, so make sure you join if you haven't already. So yeah, chuck us some questions. We'll try and answer as many as possible in the time we got. We'll probably do about 5 minutes like we usually do.
I don't think we could ever co-manage a team together.
No, I don't think we could either. Anguila says, if I made a pizza, it would look like that defence. I can't cook. John Cahill.
Banana on it.
Sterling would be a good pick if he wasn't playing alongside Jackson. Omar, still early, but if both are fit, do I bench Mbumo or Alvarez? Oof, I wouldn't want to bench either. I'm assuming
Mbumo's at home to Everton. Oh no, he's not. That's game week 6. More the last statement. Okay, so Mbumo away at Newcastle, but then City are away at West Ham. I'd bench Alvarez. But I'd also wonder how I'd got myself in that position.
Yeah, I get a lot of people in my like DMs saying, "Oh, who do I bench out of these two amazing players?" And I'm like, you need to think about why you're in that position to begin with, because you don't want to be in that position, to be honest.
I'm there panicking. Do I start Archer, Gal Pedro, or Rico Lewis? And we got people. Shall I bench Alvarez or Salah?
And they're more brutal swings, to be honest. What do we think? Andrew Cox says, "What do we think about Henderson in goal?"
I hadn't even considered that. See, it's not even me bringing up the goalkeeper chat today.
It's not a bad shout, to be fair.
Goalkeepers, there is a lot of randomness to it.
There are, yeah.
As in, like, look at Pickford. Obviously, he got 1 point. I mean, he outscored, other goalkeepers, even despite scoring an own goal. He, within the first 20 minutes, he made 3 saves from really low XG shots. Archer then scores a wonder goal. I think he's very unlucky for his own goal. And on another day, he could have got double digits. And I know I've managed to swing that onto Pickford, but that can happen to any player. Look at game week 1 with Leno, for example.
Yeah. Very true.
But they got absolutely battered by Everton, but Everton couldn't score.
Yeah.
And there was a goal disallowed. So now I think people are mentioning Leno, probably partly because that game week 1, he put up, big points. I think there's a lot of randomness with keepers.
Also, as well, I've spoken to a few Crystal Palace fans, and they're saying that it's basically Johnston's to lose, but as soon as he loses it, that'll pretty much be it, if that makes sense. So I don't think it will happen. I think if you've got Johnston, I don't think it's a priority out. But at some point, like if you wildcard now or when you wildcard later, I think that's when you're going to have to do it. I just don't think this is maybe the time to take that risk, if that makes sense.
No, and that's why I think it was, it was tricky pre-season. There was a lot of, one option I looked at was Steele. He's obviously lost his spot, but then there's still threats of, well, not threats, but De Zerbi said they're going to play 50-50.
Yeah. Yeah,
exactly. So that's what ruled him out. Obviously, Flecken, Raya hadn't actually left, had he, when the season began, game week 1?
Not officially.
No. And then Sanchez wasn't an option before game week 1 anyway. So I think there was a lot of uncertainty about goalkeepers. We didn't even know if Areola would start. So yeah, it's a really tricky one, goalies this year.
Fatality says, do I do Foden to Son or Nketiah to Alvarez?
It's hard without seeing the rest of the team, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean,
I quite like the Foden to Son, but it's too early. It's too early in the week.
I would do the Nketiah one personally because I think Foden's fine to hold.
I mean, I guess it depends if you're starting Nketiah. If Nketiah is just a sub, do you need to do it? It's hard without seeing the whole team there.
FPL Gamer says, do I get Edouard as my third striker?
What price is he? He's not cheap, is he?
I don't hate it. He's doing okay this season so far.
Yeah, but then you've got Archer. You can have Archer as your third striker.
That's true.
I'm not saying that Archer's gonna match Edouard or outscore Edouard. It just seems like an absolute gift.
Yeah, it does.
I don't like it when you're gonna have five midfielders.
Pickford makes me yell in horror every time I look at my team. Yeah, I know. Tell me about it, mate. Hodgson may rotate keepers, says Shekel. Yeah, he might do. Manchester says you don't get any points for XG. You don't, but it does help you work out who might get points. And last one, Mario Rodriguez. Sterling, Mbumo, or Sterling and Bumo or Bruno Fernandes to Son. He wants to get Son. He's got to lose either Sterling and Bumo or Bruno Fernandes. Who does he lose?
The way I'm thinking now, I wouldn't lose any of them.
Yeah.
I really wouldn't lose any of them for Son.
Interesting.
Well, how do you feel about that? Are you looking at Son yourself?
No, I don't think I am. I think Maddison is one that I wanted. If I were to lose one, I've still got Shaw. That's the problem. And I feel like I need to. Shaw's becoming a little bit of a problem, but I might just hold him to wildcard now.
Becoming a little bit of a problem.
he has been a problem. It's because he's dropping in value, obviously. So I'm wondering whether I it's either Maddison or Son, but it would be for a United lad. And the United fixtures are nice, so I'm not sure at the moment.
No, that's the thing.
I don't want to think about it too much over the international break either.
I mean, with that question, with those three players, would you do any of those to Maddison? Because I know you potentially prefer Maddison to Son. Because I really wouldn't. I mean, it's one of these weeks. It feels a bit like, and it's not as bad as this. You know, when we had to go without Salah.
Yeah.
For the Bournemouth game, It feels a bit like that. Like if you can get through it with minimal damage. And I mean, there could be damage, if you don't have Spurs midfielders. If you get through it, you're suddenly sat there with Spurs having, Arsenal away, then Liverpool at home.
Yeah.
You don't really have to worry about it until game week 8 when they play Luton. So it's getting through one weekend.
We'll see. There are a lot of people who've made that move already, like I said. Right, thank you so much, chat, for your questions. I really enjoyed those tonight. Like I said, it's a bit different because it's the international break, but I hope you enjoyed what we gave you tonight. That wildcard team, make sure you take a screenshot of it. I bet you...
No, it never happened.
Yeah, exactly. Burn it or keep it. It's completely up to you. Rich, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. Bit of a shorter one tonight.
I did. No, that was fun. But I'm going to watch the second half of the Reading game.
Oh,
so I could be missing a cracker.
Do you want to stay here for a bit longer?
That's all right. I promised David I'd do score updates, but there's not been any goals.
Oh, bless you. And I did need to say as well, this is from FPL Ron Manager, I needed to make sure before I signed off tonight to call you Richard. So thank you very much for joining us, Richard.
Thank you.
So for all those people that have been listening on the pod or people that have been watching us live, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We've really enjoyed ourselves. And I hope you have too. Enjoy the week away because, you don't get too many throughout the year and they are good when they come along. We will be back next Monday looking at how our teams did and looking at our teams moving forward as well. So thank you very much and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.